U.S. and Chinese officials are meeting in Stockholm for their third round of trade talks this year, aimed at extending their current tariff truce beyond the mid-August deadline and preventing a potential escalation of the trade war between the world's two largest economies. According to Bloomberg, Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng and U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will lead the delegations through Tuesday at the Swedish government headquarters, with discussions expected to focus on how long the current tariff truce can be extended and address issues including U.S. levies tied to fentanyl trafficking and Chinese purchases of sanctioned Russian and Iranian oil. Stockholm trade talks. The negotiations are taking place at Rosenbad, the Swedish Prime Minister's office in central Stockholm, where both Chinese and American flags were raised on Monday morning as delegations arrived for the high-stakes discussions. Swedish authorities implemented heightened security measures around the historic building, blocking off surrounding areas and conducting explosive sweeps, which prompted questions from curious passersby about the unusual activity. Media outlets from both countries, along with international press including Japan's Kyodo News, France's AFP, and several Swedish outlets, gathered outside the venue as the talks commenced on Monday afternoon local time. The Chinese delegation arrived in the Swedish capital on Sunday afternoon, while their American counterparts landed on Monday, marking the beginning of what analysts expect to be multi-day negotiations similar to the previous rounds held in Geneva and London. Key agenda items. The primary focus centers on securing another 90-day extension of the current tariff truce, which would prevent U.S. duties from snapping back to triple-digit levels that could effectively create a bilateral trade embargo. According to the South China Morning Post, both sides are likely to refrain from introducing new tariffs or other escalatory measures during this extended period. Beyond the truce extension, negotiators will tackle several contentious issues, including fentanyl-related tariffs imposed by the Trump administration and Chinese purchases of sanctioned Russian and Iranian oil. The agenda also encompasses broader structural concerns such as China's overcapacity, market access for U.S. companies in China, and securing Chinese commitments for large purchases of American commodities, including energy and agricultural products. Treasury Secretary Bessent indicated that discussions could address bringing the economic relationship into balance, referencing the $295.5 billion trade deficit the U.S. ran with China last year. Previous Geneva and London negotiations. The current trade tensions stem from escalating tit-for-tat measures that reached a breaking point earlier this year, with the U.S. initially imposing 12.5% tariffs on Chinese goods that effectively foreclosed trading between the world's two largest economies. This prompted Beijing to leverage its dominance in rare earth minerals, keeping Washington at the negotiating table while securing some rollbacks of U.S. export demands. The situation has since stabilized at what Treasury Secretary Bessent described as a status quo, with the U.S. currently taxing imported Chinese goods at 30%, consisting of 10% universal retaliatory tariffs and 20% from fentanyl-related penalties, while China responds with 10% tariffs on top of pre-existing levies. Recent diplomatic gestures have helped ease tensions, including the lifting of the American ban on sales of important NVIDIA chips to China and Beijing backing off from an antitrust investigation into U.S. chemical company DuPont, following what officials described as a very pleasant phone conversation between Trump and Xi.